All right, sports fans, how's everybody out there doing? William Martin coming at you one more time here on YouTube with another edition of the 300 Pounds of Sports Knowledge Podcast. It's that time of the week, folks. My weekly picks in the world of the National Football League. Got things started on the right foot last night as I picked the Los Angeles Rams by 7 at home over the New Orleans Saints. And of course, the Rams went on to win by 8, as Los Angeles is looking like they can be a viable postseason team come next month. But with that said, we've got a couple of good games on tap for tomorrow, as well as the Sunday games and a triple header on Monday. And with that said, here are my picks for week number 16 in this NFL season. And I'm going to start tomorrow with an AFC North showdown, as you have a pair of teams heading in opposite directions, as the 7-7 Pittsburgh Steelers are set to host the 8-6 Cincinnati Bengals. A couple of weeks ago, it looked like all was lost for the Bengals when Pro Bowl quarterback Joe Burrow was lost for the season with a wrist injury. And of course, a couple of weeks ago, the Pittsburgh Steelers were rolling. They were 7-4, looking like they were going to be a playoff team, in spite of the fact that their offense has had some issues. Well, those offensive issues have only gotten worse. No Kenny Pickett out there at quarterback. Things did not improve with Mitchell Trubisky at quarterback. And now Steelers head coach Mike Tomlin is going to go with Mason Rudolph. But I'll tell you like this. You look at this Bengals team, they are playing with a ton of confidence right now. They are flying around the football. They're doing whatever it has to take. No Joe Burrow, no Jamar Chase, but Zach Taylor just gets this team ready to play and they go out there and execute. And I think that trend continues tomorrow, as I'm going to take Cincinnati on the road by the score of 20-17. Now, tomorrow evening in SoFi, you're going to have the 8-6 Buffalo Bills taking on the 5-9 Los Angeles Chargers. Buffalo comes into this contest favored by 12.5 points. They have got their swagger back. They went on the road a couple of weeks ago and knocked off Kansas City, and then they just dismantled the Dallas Cowboys at home this past Sunday. For Josh Allen and company, they know that they cannot take their foot off the throttle. Why? Because they don't have a lot of wiggle room. And these are the games against the teams that you're supposed to beat that you got to go out there and beat. For the Chargers, they come into this contest licking their wounds. No more Brandon Staley as head coach, as he was relieved of his duties following the 63-21 beatdown courtesy of the Raiders last Thursday night. Of course, no Justin Herbert at quarterback, as he is lost for the rest of the season. The Chargers are dealing with a litany of injuries. Buffalo is playing with a ton of confidence, and that combo together, I think, gives the Bills the 31-17 edge. Now, moving ahead to Sunday in Atlanta, you got the 6-8 Falcons hosting the 8-6 Baltimore. Pardon me, said Baltimore Colts, Indianapolis Colts. And this is another contest where you got a pair of teams going in opposite directions. The Colts, you know what? This team, they came into this year playing with house money because a lot was not expected of them, especially after Anthony Richardson went out for the season. But in Gardner Minshew, we trust. This is a guy who can throw you into a game and also throw you out of a game. But Indianapolis runs the ball. Indianapolis played solid D. And when you put that combination together, the Colts are going to have an opportunity to win games, which they've been doing. On the flip side, for the Falcons, the quarterback carousel continues, as head coach Arthur Smith is now going to Taylor Heineke at quarterback. For Atlanta, they let a couple of golden opportunities slip by, losing at home a couple of weeks ago to Tampa Bay, and then, of course, the upset on the road this past Sunday, courtesy, excuse me, of the Carolina Panthers. Things will not get better for the Falcons in this game. I know that they're favored by 2.5 at home, but I'm going to take Indy on the road in this one by the score of 24-20. Now in Nashville, you got the 5-9 Tennessee Titans hosting the 7-7 Seattle Seahawks. And for Seattle, they want to keep the momentum going after their big Monday night win at home against the Philadelphia Eagles. I'm looking at this contest right here. First and foremost, the team that's going to run the football and establish the line of scrimmage. That's going to be key in this game. Then the Seahawks D. What can they do against Will Levis and this Tennessee offense? I'll tell you like this. This is a quick turnaround for Seattle. They had the Monday night game at home. It ended late, of course. And then they got to turn around for a 1 o'clock game on the East Coast. But over the years, one head coach that has his finger on the pulse of his team when it comes to doing a Monday night game and then having a quick turnaround and then having to travel to the East Coast multiple times a season, be ready for a contest. It's Pete Carroll. And I think that trend will continue on Sunday as I'm going to take Seattle by the score of 24-17. Now in Minnesota, you got the 7-7 Vikings set to host the 10-4 Detroit Lions. And don't look now, but the Lions with a win can wrap up the NFC North for the first time in franchise history, while this could also be their first division title in nearly 30 years. And I guarantee you that some folks from the Motor City are going to make their way west to be in attendance just in case that the Lions are able to win this division. For the Minnesota Vikings, we talk about a quarterback carousel. They've had their fair share of ups and downs rather at the position. While you look at the Lions, this team is playing with a ton of confidence. I think getting the big win at home last weekend against the Denver Broncos definitely helps them. Detroit comes into this contest favored by 3. The over under is 47 and a half. I'm right there with it. I'm going to take the Lions on the road to win the NFC North by the score of 24-23. Now at MetLife Stadium, you got the 4-10 Washington Commanders set to take on the 5-9 New York Jets. Somebody's got to win this game. Maybe. You got two very flawed football teams, but I like the Jets defense going up against the Commanders offense. Why? Because Sam Howell has to be seeing ghosts at this point of the season due to the fact of how much he's been sacked. You're talking about a quarterback that holds the football too long, an offensive line that cannot protect him. The Jets are going back to Trevor Siemian at quarterback due to the fact that Zach Wilson is in the concussion protocol. Somebody's going to win this game by accident, and I'm going to give the edge to the Jets at home by the score of 16-13. Now in Charlotte, the Carolina Panthers are going to look to make it 2 in a row as they host the Green Bay Packers. And for the Packers, they let a pair of golden opportunities go by the wayside. They lost a couple of weeks ago on Monday night to the New York Giants, and then this past Sunday they lost at home to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. The Packers, they're a Jekyll and Hyde team, and they're a young team, and you have to expect that from them. So, it's a week to week thing with them as far as their consistency or lack thereof it. Now, for the Panthers, it hasn't been pretty all season long, but this is a time of the year where you throw the records out of the window. Why? Because most of these guys know that they're not going to be there next season, but they're still playing for jobs with other teams. You got a coaching staff that's auditioning as well. Changes are coming to Charlotte, and I think because of that, the Panthers are going to give you everything that they have for 60 minutes. But when it's all said and done, Green Bay is the better team, and I think the Packers will take care of their business. Thus, I'm going to take the Packers on the road in this one by the score of 27-17. Now down in Houston, you got the 8-6 Texans hosting the 9-5 Cleveland Browns. And two teams that are dealing with some key injuries right now, but they keep finding a way to win. This Browns team, I don't think Kevin Stefanski, their head coach, gets enough credit countrywide or league wide rather, as far as the job that he has done with all of the injuries that have been fallen on or befallen rather on his team this year. I like this Cleveland defense going up against this Houston offense, sans CJ Stroud, as he's going to be out once again with the concussion. For the Browns, what can I say? This is just a gritty group of guys, especially on defense under defensive coordinator Jim Schwartz. And I think Cleveland finds a way to get the win on the road by the score of 23-20. Now in the Sunshine State, and there's going to be a lot of sunshine on Sunday, 73 degrees in Tampa when the 7-7 Bucks host the 8-6 Jacksonville Jaguars. You got a pair of teams that are tied for first place in their respective divisions. For Jacksonville, they got started on the right foot, but they've hit a wall lately, and they got to try to finish, and especially right now because it's not just that they're 8-6. Indianapolis and Houston are tied with them. And this once again could be a one team division as far as getting to the postseason. Trevor Lawrence, more than likely, is probably going to be a game time decision. And if as Trevor Lawrence goes, so do the fortunes of this Jacksonville team. On the flip side for Tampa Bay, this was a team that was expected to be picking in the top 5 of next spring's NFL draft. But they've kept it together. They've been up and down. But you know what? This team just fights scraps and claws. I like what they're doing on defense. Baker Mayfield is one of those quarterbacks. He can throw you into a game, but he could also throw you out of a game. But if he leans on his big receivers in this one, the likes of Mike Evans and of course Chris Godwin, Tampa's got a chance to win. The Bucks are favored by 1.5 at home. Like I said, Trevor Lawrence is a game time decision. This is a toss up in my book, but I'm going to take Tampa Bay by the score of 24-23. Now at Soldier Field in Chicago, you got the 5-9 Bears hosting the 3-11 Arizona Cardinals. And of course, some people might not want to pay attention to this game because you got two teams with losing records. But both of them are looking to build towards 2024. For Kyler Murray, he's getting his sea legs back under him after the ACL injury. And of course, the Cardinals have looked a lot better since he returned to quarterback. For the Bears, we don't know what's going to become of this team heading into next season. Justin Fields might be playing for a job in Chicago. And I think when it's all said and done, he's going to go out there and let it all hang out. 39 degrees at kickoff, which definitely favors Chicago in regards to taking on a team that plays all of their home games indoors. And I'm going to take the Bears at home by the score of 27-24. A big time showdown in South Florida as you've got the 10-4 Dallas Cowboys taking on the 10-4 Miami Dolphins. And for Dallas, they come into this contest licking their wounds, obviously, after they went on the road last Sunday against the Buffalo Bills and were dismantled. On the flip side, for the Miami Dolphins, they got back on the winning track at home last week against the Jets, and they did it without Tyreek Hill. I'll tell you like this. For the Dolphins, they're going to need all hands on deck, especially on offense. Now, I look at it like this. Miami is going to look at the game tape and see what Buffalo did to this Dallas front. And what did Buffalo do? They ran the football down the throats of the Dallas Cowboys. What can Miami do? Especially with Mike McDaniel as the head coach, they love to run the football. And I expect a heavy dose of Devin A-Chain and Raheem Mostert in this contest for the Miami Dolphins to try to balance things on offense. Now for Dallas, what they're going to try to do, they got to smell that run and they got to try to go out there and put a stop to it. Why? Because you want to make the Dolphins one dimensional on offense. Because yes, you've got Tyreek Hill and you got Jalen Waddle at wide receiver. But what you want to do, you want to put them in passing situations so the likes of Micah Parsons can then pin their ears back and come after Tua Tagovailoa. Now, for this Dallas offense, I think they want to start fast and they want to make a statement. And I think that comes down to the ability of quarterback Dak Prescott hooking up with the likes of CD Lamb. Both of these teams have a lot of skilled players on the offensive side of the ball. I think it's going to come down to the defensive side of the ball. And then offensively, which teams, when they get into the red zone, they score touchdowns and don't have to settle for field goals. Now, yes, this is an interconference matchup, but it's important for both teams because both of them have struggled against teams with winning records this season. All four of Dallas's losses this season have come on the road. And after it looked like Dallas was going to fall back into second place last week after they lost to the Buffalo Bills, they got a reprieve when the Seattle Seahawks beat the Philadelphia Eagles on Monday night. Both Philly and Dallas are still 10-4. Dallas currently holds a tiebreaker over the Eagles for first place in the NFC East, and they know that they cannot let up. Why? Because it's going to be so important to both them and Philadelphia to win that division, possibly get the 2 seed, and avoid having to take that trip to San Francisco until at least, or until rather, the NFC Championship game. Big time statement potentially for both of these teams on Sunday. I think this is going to be a back and forth affair. The last team to possess the football will win. And I'm going to give it to Miami by the score of 30-27. Now, on Sunday night in the Mile High City, and what could be a snooze fest, you got the 7-7 Denver Broncos hosting the 3-11 New England Patriots. And for Denver, clearly they want to get back on track after they were embarrassed last Saturday night, courtesy of the Detroit Lions. Now, of course, the Patriots are 3-11, but you know what? They're not going to be pushovers because they can still bring it defensively. Their offense is the issue, and I think their offense will continue to be the issue in this game going up against this Denver defense. Thus, I'm going to take the Broncos at home by the score of 23-13. Now, moving ahead to Monday, and like I talked about it, it's a triple header. You're going to start off at Arrowhead with the 9-5 Chiefs hosting the 6-8 Oakland Las Vegas Raiders. I messed up two times with teams that have relocated. But nonetheless, this Chiefs team, they're 9-5. I think they're going to finish the rest of the regular season flying under the radar, but I don't see them being tested as well. For Kansas City, it might not be pretty in this game because remember, when they faced the Raiders a couple of weeks ago, the Raiders jumped out to a 14 to nothing lead early on before Kansas City was able to get some semblance of order. It still hasn't been pretty on offense for the Chiefs. It won't be pretty consistently for them, but nonetheless, I think Kansas City takes care of their business and gets the 31-20 win at home. Now, speaking of teams that need to get back on track, you've got the 10-4 Philadelphia Eagles nursing a three-game losing streak as they're hosting the 5-9 New York Football Giants. Now, the Birds come into this contest favored by 13.5 at home, and for very good reason. Why? Because they have owned this rivalry over the last couple of years, and which included, taking care of the Giants in the divisional round en route to an NFC championship. For the Eagles, they've got to get back to the basics on in this contest, and I think it starts with their defense. Their defense has not played good all season long. You think about what made this Philadelphia defense so good last year. It was their ability to put pressure on opposing quarterbacks, and it was also their ability to get sacks. So you got a New York Giants team that's going with an undrafted rookie quarterback who's a backup and Tommy DeVito, of course. We've talked about, the DeVito mania, if you will, that has captivated this team. But nonetheless, you're talking about a guy who's playing behind a bad offensive line going up against an underachieving defense. I like the underachieving defense in this contest. I think the Giants are going to be game. I know that they're playing with house money. They're probably, going to be picking in the top 10 of next April's draft, but you got a lot of pride over there. And you got a lot of guys that are fighting, scrapping, and clawing, trying to make a good showing for themselves under head coach Brian Daboll. Brian Daboll will have this team ready to play Monday afternoon, but it's not going to be enough. As I'm going to take Philadelphia at home by the score of 31-19. And finally, on Monday night, in what could be a preview of the Super Bowl, you've got the two teams who are tied for the best record in the National Football League. And I'm talking about the 11-3 Baltimore Ravens traveling to Santa Clara to take on the 11-3 San Francisco 49ers. Nobody, and I mean absolutely nobody, is playing better than the 49ers right now. They are clicking on all cylinders on offense, and they are a nightmare matchup for opposing defenses. But you look at the way that Ravens quarterback Lamar Jackson is playing. He's playing like a guy who could possibly win the MVP this season. Speaking of MVPs, there are some people that think that 49ers running back Christian McCaffrey could be the MVP of the NFL this season, while there are also people who think that it could be Niners quarterback Brock Purdy. I'll tell you like this. I've seen a trend with the Niners. Uh, they start slow. To me, they remind me of, a boxer who wants to go out there, a la Terrence Crawford, who wants to go out there and feel you out for the first round or two. But once they feel you out and once they get into that rhythm, they're off to the races. We saw them with a slow start against Philadelphia a couple of weeks ago. They had a slow start last week on the road against Arizona before they picked it up, and the rest was history. it's one of those with this offense. Pick your poison because who are you going to try to stop? Is it going to be McCaffrey? Is it going to be Deebo Samuel? Is it going to be George Kittle? Is it going to be Brandon Ayuk? You really got to sit up there and pick your poison. And if the Niners get a lead, that gives this defense the opportunity, especially this defensive line with Nick Bosa and Chase Young, the former Ohio State teammates, gives them the opportunity to pin their ears back and come after you and put that pressure. It's going to be very important for this Niners defense to go out there and try to keep Lamar Jackson in the pocket. Easier said than done. I like this Ravens defense, and I think they want to go out there and try to make a statement against this 49ers offense and say, hey, we're legit, we're for real, and we could see you once again, possibly come February. San Francisco's favored by 5 points at home. Baltimore has taken a lot of disrespect to that. This place is going to be electric on Monday night. Make no mistake about it. But when it's all said and done, I'm going to take the 49ers at home by the score of 34-27. So, folks, those are my picks for this weekend in the world of the National Football League. And as always, I want to take this time out to thank you for tuning into the 300 Pounds of Sports Knowledge podcast here on YouTube. I want to take this time out to thank all of you fine folks out there for tuning in. And if you haven't already, please feel free to subscribe to this channel. Now, if you're on the X, formerly known as Twitter, please feel free to follow me at 300 Pounds of Sports. And like I always say, if you follow me, it'll be my pleasure to follow you right back. There's also the sports discussion group on Facebook at the Sports Depot 365. Now you can check it out. Drop a line and be a part of one of the better sports debating sites going on social media. So once again, fine folks, my name is William Martin, and I am signing off. And I'm saying take care and have yourselves a wonderful day.